Welcome, everybody, to episode 21 of Bases and Brews with Ben and Brandon. This is our trade deadline special episode. This is our weekly podcast where we talk baseball and beer. We stream the show live on twitch.tv/Bases and Brews every Friday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. Come give us a follow, watch us live over there, or if you can't catch us live, you can watch us on YouTube, or you can listen to us on podcast services like Spotify, Anchor, Google Podcast. Just search for the channel Bases and Brews. Also, give us a follow over on Twitter at Bases Brews to get some baseball news, some updates about the podcast, etc. And yeah, how are you doing this week?
I'm doing all right. I'm ready to talk about this craziness.
Dude, it was nuts. This was one of the most insane trade deadlines ever.
At least that I can remember, at least in recent history.
Yeah. Like, there's always a big trade or two, but
now these were like insane. It was one after another, and it was a lot of big names too.
Yeah, it was seriously like my phone was going off literally nonstop, like the entire day. Like the entire last 3 days, I should say.
All right,
yeah.
let's get through the hot and cold real quick, so we can get into all the trades.
What are you drinking first?
I have. Let's see. Focus. Hell or High Watermelon.
Okay. I've heard of that beer actually. Surprisingly.
Yeah, it's a wheat beer. It's from San Leandro here in Cali. You can only get it right around this time of year. It's a seasonal beer that comes out from I think it's 21st Amendment Brewery. I think that's what it is. Let me double check. Yeah,
sounds right.
21st Amendment. I just love the can. The can just looks really cool. It's got like the San Francisco, the Golden Gate Bridge. It's just cool. I dig it. But it's pretty good. It actually does have a hint of watermelon, which is kind of nice in a way. It's kind of weird.
Yeah. I've never been a huge fan of like fruitier beers, but I think I've had that one and I think I liked it.
It's pretty good. It's more on the lighter side. It's almost like if you took a kind of like a lighter wheat beer and just put like a slice of watermelon in it and just let the watermelon sit. That's kind of what it tastes like to me.
Yeah, that sounds right. I am doing a clean out the fridge week. So I'm finishing up the one I had last week, which is the the Traveling Man Rotating Hops IPA.
I love that can still.
It's such a cool can. But I got that, and then I also have this one that I'll probably get to, which is the St. Arnold's Lawnmower. I forget what it. Just like a ale. I don't know. It's not great. Wasn't a big fan of that beer.
But you do like the one you're drinking now, though, right?
This one is really good.
It's just the lawnmower one you weren't a fan?
If you like IPAs. Yeah, that one, it honestly just tastes like Budweiser. It's not great.
That's fair.
But yeah, so let's run through our hot and cold real quick. It's short because the trade deadline, I barely have watched any baseball.
Yeah, I was going to say
everything else.
I'd rather spend most of the time talking about the trade deadline anyway.
Fair. But yeah, have to highlight Joey Votto's been on a tear. 7-game hit streak, batting .329, 10 homers, 24 RBIs, and 17 runs in 7 games.
That's insane.
That's nuts. You're averaging 3.5 RBIs a game. That's insane.
Yeah, that is crazy to think about.
And then we still have the Giants just barely holding on to that best record in baseball. And the Diamondbacks very securely holding on to the worst record in baseball.
I'm pretty sure it's safe to say that they will be there for the rest of the season.
I mean, last week, Baltimore was only like
was it 2 games?
2 games.
I think it was 2 games.
now they're like 4 games better. So they've pulled away. They don't want to be that last team in baseball.
It's so funny. It's funny because you have the best team in baseball and the worst team in baseball in the same division.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the top 3 in that division aren't even anywhere near the bottom 2. Like, it's not even close.
Well, yeah, because I think the Dodgers are a few games. I think they're like 2 games back now from the Giants, or maybe it's 3 after this last series. I think it's 2 though.
I just had the standings. They are 3 games back right now.
Yes, that means it's at least 1 series.
Padres 5.5 games back.
But them being 3 games back, I think still puts them as one of the other like top 3 or 4 teams in the league.
Yeah.
So
yeah, they're it's Giants have 64 wins, and then the Red Sox and the Astros have 63, and then the Dodgers have 62. Yeah.
So that, like, you have 2 of the top 5 best teams in the league and the absolute worst team in the league. It's just kind of fun.
Yeah. 32.5 games out of first place right now. that's
wait.
great.
So how many losses do the Giants have?
38.
Oh, that's going to be fun when the Giants will have lost less games than the Diamondbacks are out of first place.
Here's another interesting one, kind of on the same boat as what you just said. The Diamondbacks have 32 wins. So will they have more wins than games they are out of first place by the end of the year?
That's a good one.
That'll be interesting.
Okay, enough beating up on the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, you do feel bad for them. A couple of news things going on this week. The Nats and Phillies were the first game, I believe, this year canceled for COVID.
Oh.
The Nationals had like a huge outbreak. Like they had, it was like 6 players and like several coaches. Like,
I didn't hear about that.
Tested positive in one day.
That's crazy.
Which is interesting, as we'll get to later, because the Nationals traded away everybody on the team, and I imagine pretty much everyone they traded away is going to have to quarantine for like at least a week.
Ooh, that's a good point. I didn't even think about that.
It just kind of registered on me when I read that. I'm like, oh yeah, that's kind of a big deal. But yeah, so we'll see what happens. But and then for my Indians, Terry Francona is stepping away from coaching for the rest of the year for health reasons. He did this last year, about the same time, and the dude's like 78, something like that.
62.
72?
No, 62.
60? Is he really?
I swear I looked it up last night because I was thinking the same thing. I thought he was early 70s.
I thought he was. Yeah, you're right. 62.
Yeah.
Man, I definitely thought he was older than that.
That was my exact response after I messaged you, and I was like, well, he is kind of old, so I guess that does make sense. He's one of the older coaches in the league, and then I looked up how old he was, and I was like, wait, like.
And the funny thing is that, like, he doesn't even really look that old. He just has been in baseball forever. I feel like, I just feel like he's been around for so long. He must be older.
I'm just glad that I'm not the only one, and he's your coach, so I feel even less bad.
I could have sworn he was in his 70s. Interesting. Anyway, but yeah, so I really hope he comes back for at least one more year, because he's like 5 wins away from taking over as the most winning coach in Indians history.
Oh, that's dope. That's dope.
So, like, I really hope he comes back next year.
How long has he been there?
It's not long.
I was going to say, I didn't think he had been there that long.
It's been about 10 years, but...
Okay.
But, the Indians, over that 10-year span, have, like, their best record in baseball, because, like, they're not ever, like, the top team, but they're always, like, 15 games over 500. 10 to 15 games over 500. So like
in like the worst position possible.
Well, I mean, also fair, but
I would always, just my philosophy, I'd rather be at the bottom than the middle of the pack.
yeah, I mean, of course, but
Because the middle of the pack, you still feel like you've got a shot. So you tend to not just break it down and rebuild, although small market team is a little different.
it is. And like the fact that we've been able to stay competitive is impressive. 2012. So he's been here 9 years. Or been there 9 years. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I really hope he comes back for at least like half a year. Just to get that record. Because like he's by far the best coach we've ever had. Like Terry Francona's an instant Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I was going to say he's a future Hall of Famer.
Mm-hmm. Which it's super weird with coaches, not to get like too sidetracked, but because they can like get put in the Hall of Fame and then like keep coaching.
Yeah, that is kind of weird.
There is no like thing with players where they have to be out of the league for a certain amount of time or anything. But
I never really thought about that, but that is kind of weird.
But yeah, so again, just as an Indians fan, I hope he comes back, but we'll see. If not, I really hope they have. So Sandy Alomar is currently our first base coach.
Okay.
He took over for him last year, and like Sandy Alomar is like a legend in Cleveland. Like he was one of the best catchers in baseball for a long time for the Indians, and he's been like a hotly sought after coach. Like he's been interviewed almost every offseason. He's like, I kind of just want to keep coaching with Francona.
I mean, that's fair.
So I'm hoping that means he's going to kind of take over for him.
Just want to stay in
Cleveland.
Cleveland.
Francona does retire, yeah. But we will see.
All right.
But all right.
Let's get on to the meat and potatoes.
Let's get into it. All right. Do you just want to go down the list?
I mean, this trade. I don't even know where to begin with this. This trade deadline was nuts.
Yeah. So we looked it up. Actually, I think that I typed that wrong. I think it was 8 or 9 All-Stars. I just counted. Or no, it was 10 because it was 6 from the NL and 4 from the AL. So 10 All-Stars this year got traded, which I feel like has to be, if it's not a record, it's got to be up near the top.
That's a lot. That's a lot of All-Stars moving.
Some insane blockbusters, some really weird ones, some teams that made no sense in what they did.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to get into some of those.
Every trade deadline where you're like, what are you doing? Like, why? But we'll get into that. But yeah, just initial reaction as a baseball fan, not a Giants fan, to the trade deadline this year.
It was nuts. I think this, like I said, is probably one of the craziest trade deadlines that I can remember.
Yeah.
It's hard to remember one that was nuts. I didn't like what the Giants necessarily, well, I kind of liked what the Giants did, but that aside, I really enjoyed watching all the moves, because I feel like baseball is kind of quiet when it comes to the trade deadline, typically.
Usually, yeah. There's 2 or 3 big trades a year, and then a bunch of relief pitchers and stuff like that.
But to see so many big names moving, granted to pretty predictable spots, a lot of these trades, for the most part, were fairly predictable.
There's some that I was surprised by.
Well,
we're gonna go down the list for everybody, but yeah,
for at least some of them, we couldn't possibly do
all the ones that we have written here. We think we got most of at least the major ones, but we'll see.
But yeah, we could just start. We'll just start and go down from what we've got here.
Okay. Yeah, go for it.
All right. So San Diego got second baseman Adam Frazier. He's been doing pretty good this year. He's hitting for a high average, 324, 4 home runs with 32 RBIs. I'm sure that might have changed a little bit because I think he got traded early.
Well, that was all these numbers on here are their numbers with their previous team.
Okay, that's
the
fair.
Trade.
That's fair.
So,
but that one, I'm pretty sure that one even happened last week. I don't know. Maybe it was just through messages, but I swear we talked about that last week for a second.
I mean, okay, so there is a couple on here that happened last week that like I put on just because it was
because it's part of the trade deadline.
Yeah. Like, yeah, we mentioned a couple of these last week, but when you look at a big picture with everybody they traded for, it makes more sense, some of them.
Yeah, that's true.
But no, I mean, Adam Frazier makes sense there to play with Tatis, like, up the middle infield. He's a really good defensive player, so.
It surprised me that San Diego didn't make more moves, but I think we'll get into that a little bit later.
Agreed.
When we talk about where some of the other guys went.
Yeah, I agree.
But Atlanta actually kind of loaded up, which surprised me.
Well, okay.
Kind of. Like, the guys they got aren't great, but like...
But here's the weird thing for me, is that they're all outfielders. They traded for 4 outfielders.
Yeah.
And like, I get it that they lost Acuna, but like, what?
Unless they're planning on maybe moving people to different positions.
I'm pretty sure all those guys are like strictly outfielders. Maybe Jock Peterson can play first.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure he can play first because I'm pretty sure he played first for Chicago every once in a while.
But you have Freddie Freeman at first.
Yeah, but yeah, you wouldn't play him over. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. That's
a weird.
That one is. I don't even think we had that on our weird list, but
it is. I added it.
Okay, yeah, that's.
I think.
But yeah, 4 outfielders. I didn't even realize it was 4 outfielders until like you just said something.
Yeah, and it's again. All right, so we'll go through them. Jock Peterson, we talked about last week. That was one of the first trades. Eddie Rosario from Cleveland. He's having a decent year. He's been hurt the last couple weeks. Adam Duvall out of Miami. He's hitting a lot of home runs, but that's about it. And then Jorge Soler from Kansas City. I don't know why anybody would give up anything for him. He's betting 192. Like, what?
Yeah, but I wonder what they gave up for him.
I don't know, but I have to imagine they're gonna like platoon at least 2 of these guys and go like lefty righty matchups. But
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, none of them are bad players to get, but they're just. It's weird that you would get so much. And I don't think they got rid of any of their current outfielders. They just lost Acuna to injury.
Yeah.
So like, you have so many outfielders right now.
So the Braves gave up their number 21 prospect, who was for Soler. So this prospect
still seems too high.
Seems like he's a relief pitcher, right-handed pitcher. His ERA is 3.26 in high A. So, I mean, maybe that's not really giving up much.
Yeah.
That's could be my only thing with that one is maybe they just figured it didn't cost them much. Maybe they weren't planning on doing anything with that guy.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a weird one. but yeah, so I mean, again, the other players they got aren't bad. They're all like okay.
Yeah. They definitely, I think, panic bought after Acuna went down.
Yes, I think that's what Jock Peterson was, because they did that like 2 days later.
Yeah, that one
like,
was
very fast. The other ones, I don't know. I mean, Rosario's not bad. He was really good in Minnesota. He's having an okay year in Cleveland. Adam Duvall is just he's just hitting a bunch of home runs. Like, I guess if you needed power to replace Acuna,
maybe.
sure. I don't know, but
Okay.
yeah.
On to the next one. This is a team that I thought actually
Oakland,
I think they did pretty fucking good.
the opposite of Atlanta,
Yeah.
where Atlanta got a bunch of okay guys that didn't really make sense. Oakland,
the A's kind of went for it. So they got Andrew Chafin from Chicago, who has a 2.06 ERA with a 8.39 WHIP, which is fucking killer.
Yeah.
And he's a relief
very,
pitcher, if
very
I'm not
good.
mistaken, right?
Yeah. I forgot to put it on there, but yes, he is.
They got Starling Marte, who was my runner-up to Chris Bryant for the Giants. So he's killing it. He's got 306 batting average, 52 runs scored. That's nuts.
Yeah.
With 22 stolen bases. I love the stolen bases.
He's a speed guy. Like, I think he's only got like 4 home runs or something, and like maybe like 30 some RBIs. But yeah, I mean, he's like a leadoff guy. He's gonna get on. He's gonna steal some bases, get in position to get hit in.
They got Josh Harrison from Washington, second baseman, hitting damn near 300, 294 with 6 home runs and 38 RBIs. Those are both a little low, but when you're hitting 300, you don't always have to hit for power.
Right. Especially as like a middle infielder, like if you hit 15 homers a year, like I'm good with that. Especially on a team like Oakland where they play small ball, and
I could agree with that. Even on the Giants, where I mean, the idea this year was to hit home runs. It seems like I'd be okay with a middle infielder hitting 10, 15, 20 home runs. Like, you don't got to go crazy,
right?
And then the last guy they got was Yan Gomez, catcher from Washington. Is it Gomes?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, Gomes.
He was an Indian for the first like 10 years of his career. So.
Oh, okay. I mean, damn, he's putting up some decent stats for being later in his career. I don't know much about him, so.
He's one of the best defensive catchers in baseball. He's very good defensively.
Okay. I mean, honestly, he's hitting pretty decent too.
Yeah, for a catcher. I mean, we talked about last week how there aren't really many good hitting catchers, but he's doing a pretty decent year.
Yeah, 271 batting average, 9 home runs, 35 RBIs. I mean, I'll take it.
Yeah, he's 33. He spent the first 7 seasons in Cleveland.
Okay.
And then spent the last 3 in Washington.
So he basically spent his entire rookie deal in
Cleveland. I mean, that's what Cleveland is. We don't keep anybody. You can't keep good players, and you don't keep bad players. So like nobody's there more than like 7-8 years.
Oh, that's so funny. But yeah, I think the A's did killer.
Yeah, the other interesting thing to mention was with Starling Marte, they gave up a relief pitcher who is under control for 5 more years to Miami. And so Miami gave them Starling Marte and is paying Starling Marte. So the A's don't have to pay him the rest of the season.
Which is honestly probably why they made that deal.
Oh, yeah. I totally agree.
Because, I mean, you talk small market, like the A's are who invented playing in the small market successfully.
Yeah. Right. I mean, yeah, the Moneyball thing is literally the A's. Like,
so
watch the movie. It's really good.
It's not super accurate, but it
but
is a good movie. It is a good movie, though. But no, I thought they did killer.
I think they're up there with the best trade deadline, if not the best trade deadline of anybody.
Maybe once we get through all of our trades, we'll see. We'll go back and see who we thought did the best.
Or at least, do the best. But yeah. So we'll move on to Cincinnati. Didn't really do much. They got 2 relief pitchers, both from the Yankees. Luis Cessa and Justin Wilson. I think Justin Wilson used to pitch in Detroit. He was really good, but he's not good anymore. 7.5 ERA. Luis Cessa, 2.82 ERA is pretty good. 1.25 WHIP. I feel like he was the the main piece they wanted, and the Yankees were like, "We'll give him to you, but you have to take this guy too. Like, you have to get him off of our team."
Yeah, like we don't want him anymore.
Yeah. So I feel like that's how, I mean, that stuff happens. Like, teams try to get rid of players to clear up roster spots for other trades they're going to make and stuff like that. But yeah, that's fine. I don't know. Cincinnati is having a really good year, actually, but they needed relief help, but I don't know how much that helps them.
That's interesting because they got both of those guys for a player to be named later.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, they didn't give up like anything.
Yeah, that's an interesting one.
Like, usually a player to be named later is not ever going to be a top prospect.
So what that is that's the Yankees unloading money before. We'll get into what they did. But I think that's what that is just them unloading money and making space.
Yeah, I agree with that. But yeah.
So since you're out in Houston, I'll let you do them too.
Okay. I'm in Austin.
You're in Houston.
No. It's like 3.5 hours away. Not close. Texas is like California, where you're like, oh, San Francisco's in California, so is LA. Like, you're not that far. No.
Yeah, those are only 10 hours apart.
Right, exactly. But no, Houston picked up some relief help. They got arguably the best relief pitcher in baseball from Seattle. They got Kendall Graveman, 0.82 ERA and a 0.69 WHIP. Like, what the fuck?
Is he a middle relief or is he a closer?
Froze for a second. What was that?
I need to call my ISP again.
What did you ask me?
Is he a closer or is he middle relief?
He is middle. He has 10 saves this year, so he's
okay. So he's like one of those like 8-9 guys.
Close. Yeah.
It's at that point it's probably was just a matchup thing.
Right. And then they got Phil Maton from Cleveland. He's meh. He's okay. I'm not upset about Cleveland losing.
You're like, I could care less. No one's buying his jersey is what you're saying.
Right. He had a really good, I think it was his rookie year or his second year, and then he hasn't been able to repeat that, so not upset about it. But yeah, 4.57 ERA, which isn't like horrible as a reliever, but yeah, not great. So then this is where it gets really weird. So Seattle gave up Kendall Graveman, and everyone's like, okay, I guess they're selling because they got rid of one of their best players. And then Seattle goes out and trades for Tyler Anderson from Pittsburgh as a starter, and then Diego Castillo from Tampa as a relief pitcher. And it's like, well, why, if you're buying players, why did you give up one of your best players? And neither of those guys are very good.
Yeah, I'm wondering why too, because that does seem kind of strange that you would give up a position and then get a worse player in that position unless there was a big benefit to giving up the guy in the first place.
Yeah, like you can look up if you Google Kendall Graveman right now, all the articles are like, why did Seattle trade Kendall Graveman? It's like, nobody knows.
I'm trying to find the details on that trade so I can see kind of what, because that does seem that is just a weird.
Yeah. 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 The first article that pops up when you Google his name: Seattle Mariners players feel betrayed after Graveman traded to Astros.
Dang.
Mariners players reportedly livid with GM after Kendall Graveman trade.
Dude, they traded them while they were playing them.
Yeah.
Oh my. So we talked about this like months
And they're
ago
in the same division.
about people getting traded and literally just switching dugouts. I swear we talked about this like a month and a half ago.
Yeah, we did.
This is literally that situation right there. Oh,
Yeah,
so they traded.
Really weird.
I don't even get it.
No, it's one of the weirdest trades of the trade deadline.
Because they traded Graveman for a third baseman and a right-handed pitcher.
But minor leaguers.
Yes, I believe so. They're both minor leaguers.
The only thing, okay, so Kendall Graveman's contract is up. He's a free agent at the end of the year.
Oh no, the third baseman is playing. He homered in Seattle on Monday.
Oh. I don't know.
But he's hitting 193. His OPS is 626 across like
how many
200,
games?
250 at bats. So not a lot of games.
Well, he's been up. I mean,
250 at bats isn't that much. It's only like maybe 50 games.
yeah, if you're a backup, that's about what you've played so far this year. If you're like a bench player.
Yeah, I guess if you're a backup, that's probably what this whole season would have been. Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of the weirdest trades of the entire trade deadline, and I really hope there more comes out about it.
I guess technically that dude was the Astros number 3 prospect in 2020.
The third baseman?
Yeah. He had a OPS of just over 1 at AAA last year, I guess. I don't know. That still doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but he's not.
If you think you can turn that guy into something,
maybe,
and you're gonna lose the Graveman at the end of the year anyway, I guess maybe. It's a really weird.
Because I think Joe Smith that was part of that deal as well.
Joe Smith is a major leaguer, but he's really old.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. I think he's the piece that they were forced to take with them.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a really weird one, but that's why things get a little weird. I don't know.
Yeah, it's one of. I hope more comes out about it, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, it seems like if you're a buyer, if you think you have a shot at the playoffs and deeper, why would you trade away one of your best players? Even if you're gonna lose him at the end of the year, it's like, all right, well, we're making our run, but I don't know.
That to me, the more I read into it, the more I want to know more.
Right. But speaking of weird, let's talk about the New York Yankees.
Oh, we got to do Seattle first? Let's do Seattle first.
Well, I mean,
I guess we
kind of did.
Yeah.
It was Tyler Anderson from Pittsburgh, 4.35 ERA, 1.2 WHIP. Starting pitcher, and then Diego Castillo from Tampa Bay, relief pitcher, 2.72 ERA and a 0.99 WHIP, which is pretty good, but like not Kendall Graveman. I don't know. Let me see if I can. Diego Castillo.
Yeah, because New York is going to be a fun one to talk about.
So Diego Castillo is under contract for the next 4 seasons. So
okay, so he's young still, or is it just
right? Well, he is 27.
Okay, so he's still.
So he's under club control until he's 30.
So he's basically for the rest of his. Well, no, because if
at
he's
least his prime,
his prime, yeah. Because as a relief pitcher, though, you can pitch into your 40s.
Yeah.
So he's not that done yet, but.
But yeah, so I mean, I get that pickup. The starting pitcher's okay.
I wouldn't even say that's okay stat number.
I mean, 4.35 ERA is a good 4 or 5 starter. Not good, but like a
passable
4 or 5 starter. Yeah. I mean, depending on what you have as your starting rotation, like
I mean that facts.
It's an upgrade.
I mean, maybe I'm spoiled with one of the better, I wouldn't even say top, but one of the better rotations in baseball.
And I mean, it's also weird because, like, the Mariners are in it, but they're like 8 games out of first. They're only 2.5 out of the wild card, but they got to catch the A's, who just freaking went insane.
Yeah, the A's just loaded up.
That's going to be a fun division to watch down the stretch because the A's are 5 games out of first right now, and the Astros didn't do a ton at the deadline, so it'll be fun to see what happens if the A's can catch back up. But
speaking of people loading up, let's talk about the team that literally makes no sense to do that.
Yeah.
The Yankees.
Yeah.
So the Yankees got Joey Gallo from Texas, who he was an all-star this year, if I'm not mistaken, right?
He was. Yeah. And he also did the home run
derby.
I
was going to say he did the home run derby. His average is poop, but that's like modern baseball, unfortunately.
Right.
He's hitting 223 with 25 home runs, 55 RBIs. I mean, guy's a power hitter, but why? And then on top of that, they got Anthony Rizzo from the Cubs, which was kind of a shock, honestly.
Well, the other shock is that they're both first basemen.
And Rizzo is having a better year average-wise, but not as good otherwise. So Rizzo's slash line right now is 248 batting average, 14 home runs, 40 RBIs. I don't know. It's just kind of what are the Yankees doing?
It makes no sense. So Rizzo's an unrestricted free agent after this year. Gallo is under arbitration for one more season, so like they'll at least have Gallo next year.
Okay, that at least is nice.
But they're 9 games out of first right now. They're like 5 games out of the wild card. Like, they're not that close.
Well, and if I'm not mistaken, they gave up like 6 top 30 prospects or top 25 prospects.
I think it was top 25.
I think it was top 25. So they gave up like a quarter of their like top 25 prospects. I think the highest being what was it, like 8 or something like that for them? 6?
I'm not positive. 6 sounds right, but I could be wrong.
I'm gonna look it up real quick. But yeah, the Yankees shocked me more than I think anybody else.
Yeah. Well, I didn't expect them to necessarily sell, but I didn't expect them to buy. Like, they're kind of in the middle ground where they're like not rebuilding, but they're kind of retooling, and like they got some younger players. They got kind of building around Aaron Judge, and it's weird. I don't really.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay, so here it is. Here's the skinny this is just for Joey Gallo and a left-handed pitcher, Joely Rodriguez, and Cash from the Rangers. They gave up second baseman Ezekiel Duran, shortstop Josh Smith, infielder / outfielder, so utility guy Trevor Hoover, and right-handed pitcher Glenn Ott. Those 4 guys were 4 of their top 30 prospects. They were 14, 15, 23, and 28, respectively. So no top 10 prospects, but like they gave up 4 of their top 30 in that one deal. I'm looking for the Rizzo deal. It should be here at the top because they just did that today.
Yeah.
But that to me is like 4 of your top 30 for 2 guys, one being Joey Gallo.
Yeah. And again, Joey Gallo and Anthony Rizzo are both good, but they're not like great players. They're not like, somebody that's going to like make your team so much better. I don't.
So the Yankees, to me, especially with where they're at in their division, surprises me of the moves they've made more than anybody. I'm just gonna put that one out there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Apparently, Vegas bumped their postseason odds from plus 2,500. So that means if you bet $100, you make 2,500 to plus 2,200. So both very, very small percentages.
So the Rizzo deal was Anthony Rizzo for Alexander Vizcaino, and who was a right-handed pitcher, and outfielder Kevin Alcantara. Those guys are number 9 and number 12. Number 9 and number 12 for Anthony Rizzo. So they gave up 9, 12, was it 14, 28, 23, and there was one other one in there.
Yeah.
Like, they gave up basically a little over a quarter of their top 30 prospects. That's insane to me.
Yeah, I don't think either of those players are worth what they gave up. And I don't think that either of those players are going to like push them over the top into contention. I don't see it.
Yeah, I'm with you too. I really don't see like how that's going to make them that much better to give up as much as they did.
I feel like this is not correct.
Which one?
I'm looking at the standings right now, and the Rays, who are 61 and 42, are 3.5 games out of the wild card. But then it also says the Yankees, who are 53 and 48, so 8 less wins, 6 more losses, are also 3.5 games out of the wild card right now.
Wait, what?
I think it has to be a typo. Because they're 7 games better than them in the division, but somehow they're both. All right, where's MLB.com? No, that's okay, that makes sense. Tampa Bay has a 3.5 game lead in the wild card. They're the number 1 wild card team.
Oh, okay.
So they're 3.5 over Oakland. Oakland is the second wild card team, 3.5 behind them, and then the Yankees are 3.5 behind Oakland.
Okay. So they're like what, 6 back?
So they're 3.5 out of the wild card.
Oh, okay. So they're still fighting for potential postseason. I get what you're saying. I get where you're going with that.
But
I kept thinking division.
Oakland just went all in, and the Yankees went a little bit in.
Well, not even. Because their guy right now that is playing first base is DJ LeMahieu.
Who's solid.
Who is hitting 264 with, where is it at? With 7 home runs and 39 RBIs. So he's a little lower on the RBIs and home runs. I don't get how that's that much of an upgrade.
Like right now, I'm looking at the Yankees depth chart, and it has Joey Gallo, who they just gave up 4 prospects for, as their number 4 first baseman.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, I mean, I don't know if.
Now, okay, so they have DJ LeMahieu playing second now.
Oh, do they?
Which is weird because they just traded for Rougned Odor like a week and a half ago or 2 weeks ago, who is also a second baseman. They have.
Oh, this hurts. See, the Yankees hurt my head.
They have Joey Gallo playing left field now over Brett Gardner, who has been their left fielder for like 10 years.
My head hurts.
This makes no sense.
I think we'll have to revisit the Yankees next week and see what the hell their like actual depth chart looks like.
what the like lineup looks like.
Yeah, what the lineup
everybody gets there.
Yeah, I think because in my head I'm like, this doesn't even make any sense.
Right.
This is the weirdest team to me this whole trade deadline, not off season, but
yeah, I agree. I don't know. It's weird.
Okay. I don't know if there's a whole lot more we can say on the Yankees at this point. I think we're just gonna have to wait and see how they line the guys up, where they move people to.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, we'll move on. We'll maybe revisit it next week.
Oh, I think we're gonna have to.
But so we'll move on to Milwaukee, who made a pretty big deal getting Eduardo Escobar from Arizona. Dude plays like third, second, and short. 246 batting average, 22 homers, 65 RBIs. That's pretty good for an infielder.
This was
not a first baseman.
This was a guy we were talking about last week. He's like the only guy in Arizona that was actually worth anything.
They also added Daniel Norris, who was a Tigers relief pitcher.
Okay.
And John Curtis, who I don't know.
Name doesn't ring bells for me.
Oh, okay. He's a relief pitcher from Miami. He had okay. He can start apparently, or Miami was just really desperate on it. But 35 games, 2.48 ERA, 1.0 WHIP.
That's not bad.
So not bad. Norris is currently 38 games, 5.89 ERA, 1.4 WHIP. Not as good.
As good.
But yeah, he Daniel Norris, I've seen a lot. He's been in the league for 8 years now. Mostly with Detroit, so I've seen a lot of him.
Okay.
He can be a really good pitcher. And he actually used to be a starter until last year. Huh. But yeah, he has the potential to be really good. But I don't know, kind of fell off. Has to refine it, I guess. But
all right.
So yeah, I missed those ones. I just saw it pop up when I typed it in. But
it's all good. There were so many; it's almost impossible to keep up with all of them.
Those are all solid pickups for Milwaukee, who has a 7-game lead in the division. So they're kind of pulling away with that division.
All right.
Yeah.
So on to Chicago, the White Sox, because they're the team that actually bought this year.
Yeah.
So the White Sox got Cesar Hernandez from Cleveland, second baseman. You can speak a lot more on him.
He's better than his numbers show.
Okay.
Last year for the Indians, he batted like 310. His power numbers are way up. Like his career high in home runs for a full season was like 15 before this year. He's got 18 already.
Oh, damn.
But yeah, he's been hitting a lot better. His batting average was down to like 210. And then over the last like 3 weeks, he's been hitting way better.
So it just took him a little bit to get kind of in that rhythm. I mean,
yeah,
he had
a really bad start to the season. Yeah. But yeah, good defensive guy and much better offensive guy than those numbers show.
Chicago also got Ryan Tepera, relief pitcher, 2.91 ERA, 7.85 WHIP. Not bad. It's pretty good. And then they got the big dog, the one that I am super salty about. They got Craig Kimbrell from the Cubs. 0.49 ERA. 0.709 WHIP. He has blown a couple saves. He's 23 for 25 this year, but
I mean, everybody blows a couple saves. That's not
unless you're Mariano Rivera.
even the best year Mariano had, he blew like 2 saves. Like,
but
everybody blows saves.
I'm super salty.
You just don't remember.
It's interesting though that this went from one Chicago. Like he's got to love that. He doesn't even really.
Tapera was also a Cub.
Oh yeah. Sorry. So,
but
like those guys got to be stoked because they're not even leaving Chicago.
Yeah, don't even have to like get rid of your home or whatever.
I don't know how far apart those two teams are as far as like actual like stadiums.
Fairly far. I mean, probably like a 30-minute drive.
That's not that
definitely
far.
Doable if you're living like somewhere in between them.
Yeah, that's not that far.
No.
But I'm a little salty. I wanted the Giants to get Kimbrell, but I'll talk about that a little bit later when we get to the Giants.
Yeah.
So we'll move on to Toronto. Toronto got Brad Hand, who was closer for Washington, who
He was
surprisingly sold everybody.
Wait, what?
Washington.
Oh, yeah.
Washington surprised me and sold like literally everybody but Juan Soto.
Yeah, they got rid of a lot of people. Yeah, Brad Hand is under contract. His contract's up the end of this year, so I'm not sure why they did this now that I'm looking at it.
That is a little bit weird.
He's a free agent, unrestricted free agent at the end of the season. So I guess they still think they have a shot. I don't know
where's Toronto at in the standings right now? I don't know offhand where.
Not good. Toronto is 9.5 back in the division, 4.5 back in the wild card. I guess 4.5's not.
Well, speaking of weird, they
but
went and grabbed Jose Berrios from the Twins.
I think it's Berrios.
Or Berrios. I don't know. Everybody I was hearing talk about it was saying Berrios. I don't know.
Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't know. It
That's
could
how
be.
The Indians announcers always.
I'm
with the Twins.
I'm terrible with name pronunciation. So anybody out there listening, please don't hurt me. I'm terrible with name pronunciations.
That's how the Indians announcers always said it. So I just assumed they knew. But
honestly, it might be. I don't know. We have a guy on our team that they've changed how they pronounce his name like 4 times.
Right. We had the Indians have a guy named Oscar Mercado. And I think that they thought that he was like, he's from like California, but I think they thought he was like, he's Hispanic, but he's not like born in like Venezuela or something. He was born in California. So like they announced his name like Oscar Mercado, like really heavily.
Oh yeah.
And he's like, no, dude, my name's Oscar. It was really funny. But
one of the guys that plays for the Giants, his name is Mauricio Dubon.
okay.
His last name is Dubone. So it started as, it's Dubon. Then it was, no, it's Dubone. And then it was, no, it's Dubon. Like they've even had to ask him a couple times what, like, like what it actually is, because they keep fucking.
That's really funny.
But yeah, I don't know. I didn't get a chance to tell you earlier before we went live, but I was watching the Toronto game last night. Did you see it? It was like 13-2 or something like that. It was nuts. It was on the MLB.
Toronto can turn it around.
It was on the MLB Network. My boy Vladdy, who I'm sitting on that. I predicted he was going to have an insane season, and he tore it up. He had another home run last night.
He was pretty solely the reason you and me both picked Toronto in the World Series.
I mean, I'll be real. He was like my only reason that I was hype on them to get into the World Series.
Right. That's what I mean.
Yeah, like so, and it doesn't look like that's gonna happen now. But
to be
like,
fair, he's not disappointed.
No,
he's playing incredibly this year.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm giving myself a slight pat on the back because I know of anything this year, that's probably the only thing when I look back at like our first couple episodes that I'm gonna be right on.
Pretty much everybody who predicts baseball got it wrong so far this year.
But that game was a ton of fun to watch. I love that baby blue that they play in.
Oh, yeah.
And it's exciting because tonight, I think, is their very first home game in a year and a half.
Yeah.
So
That
I'm stoked.
Sounds correct.
I'm stoked for them. That should be fun. Because they played Boston last night in Boston, and they just beat the fuck out of them. It was ugly.
Good. I don't want Boston in the playoffs, and I would love to see Toronto in the playoffs.
So now we're going to move on to one of the NL West rivals of my Giants, who...
Yeah, this was the big one.
This was definitely the big one. Was Max Scherzer and Trey Turner from Washington are going to the Dodgers, and they gave up a metric fuck ton.
Yeah.
For him. Let me pull up the details for it. Because that deal is absolutely nuts. So the Dodgers gave up Keibert Ruiz, who is a catcher, right-handed pitcher Josiah Gray, right-handed pitcher Gerardo Carrillo, and outfielder Donovan Casey. Those guys were ranked, I'm trying to think, it was like one of them is ranked like number 2 in number 1. Okay, so the Ruiz, the catcher, was the Dodgers' number 1 prospect. The right-handed pitcher, Josiah Gray, was the Dodgers' number 2 prospect.
I mean, you don't get guys like Max Scherzer and Trey Turner for nothing.
And then you had a number 17 prospect in Carrillo, and Casey isn't ranked, so he's at least out of the top 100 players.
Right.
Because I think that's where the rankings stop. I think it's only top 100.
I think for individual teams, it's 50.
Okay. But
I think for all of baseball, it's, if you're ranking like the top prospects in all of baseball, I think it's 100 or 150.
Okay.
Can't remember.
But either way, he's unranked. But they got the literally number 1, number 2 in the Dodgers organization.
Yeah. Yeah. Which the Dodgers surprisingly had a very deep farm system, like a really good farm system. So like getting the number 1 and 2 prospects out of that's a big deal. I don't know how they still had a good farm system. I guess because they aren't trading, really. They were just buying all their players in the offseason.
I was going to say the last couple of years, they've just been buying. They haven't been trading.
Yeah. But, yeah, the interesting thing with this one, for anyone who didn't see, like, the same deal seemed to be done with San Diego. And then all of a sudden, like, an hour later, they were like, deal pretty much done between San Diego and Washington, and then like an hour later it's like, okay, LA Dodgers traded for Max Scherzer and Trey Turner, and it's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
So was one of these a typo? Or
so my philosophy or my thought on this, and I told you this before we went live, was I think that they had a deal done with San Diego and they went to Max Scherzer because he has a no trade clause. Yeah. And said, we're going to send you and Trey to San Diego. And he just looked at them and was like, nah, fam, that's not happening.
It's definitely possible.
Because I guarantee you that the Dodgers, the Giants, and the Padres all had offers on the table.
Oh, yeah.
Because everything I've heard from the Giants local radio, they had an offer on the table. Now, what it was obviously hasn't been leaked.
It obviously wasn't the number 1 and 2 prospects.
No, from my understanding, they were willing to give up Bart, who was, I think, a top 3 for the Giants.
Okay.
I don't know if they were willing to give up 1 and 2, but I think
that's what I mean.
But they were at least willing to give up, I think Bart is the number 1.
One of the top.
Yeah. And he's a catcher, which is what their top prospect was a catcher.
Right.
So I think the deal was done with San Diego, and I think Scherzer was just like, nah. And that's why he ended up with San Diego, or ended up with LA.
It's interesting because, like, San Diego and LA are weather-wise fairly similar. Honestly, most people say San Diego's nicer. Like, LA, you've got the traffic. Like, as far as like places to move, and the teams are both incredible. Like they both have all-star rosters. Like it's weird that you would decline a trade to either one of them
So
unless you really wanted to be in LA.
So the reason I think he might have declined is because the Dodgers are willing to do whatever it takes to win.
Fair.
Whether that's spend more than you would think they should be able to afford or whatever. The Dodgers will do what it takes. The Padres, not so much.
Yeah.
Like the fact that they went all in the offseason and got all these crazy guys and signed all the Fernando Tatis to like the $300 million deal. Like that hasn't happened in San Diego in a long, long time,
Right.
if ever.
I mean, okay, fair. I guess, yeah, track record, you're right. The Dodgers have the track record of doing that. The Padres don't, but it seems like that's what they're going to be doing now.
Well, but you also think of, if you're looking at the standings and how everything is set up,
Well, okay.
the Giants are number 1, the Dodgers are number 2, the Padres are number 3.
Yeah, that's fair.
And the Padres are kind of honestly playing shitty ball.
Yeah.
Like to be like they aren't on our cold list because they're not like they're still one of the top 10 teams in the league, but they're 5 out, I think, of the NL West. Maybe it's 4.5. But it's pretty close, right around there.
I don't have it up still.
So their chances of them getting the wild card probably not going to happen. Whereas even if the Dodgers don't win, they're probably at least getting the wild card for sure.
They're 5.5 out right now. They have the second wild card spot by. They have a 5-game lead in the wild card.
Okay, never mind. Because that would be my only argument. Just thinking about that though, that's my only argument was maybe they don't make the wild card and the Dodgers are for sure at this point, trajectory wise, they're going, especially if you add him and Turner.
Yeah. I mean, the Dodgers essentially they have the top spot by 2.5 games, and then they're 7.5 games over Cincinnati for the wild card. Yeah. So it would be tough to catch either of those teams. It really looks like there will be 3 teams in the playoffs out of the NL West.
That's insane.
Yeah. That happened in the AL Central a couple of years ago. It was the White Sox, the Indians, and the Twins all made it.
That's nuts.
And now the NL Central AL Central is a joke.
But I just thought it was interesting that the Dodgers loaded up as much as they did, because I was telling you just before we got on here was that lineup for the Dodgers starting pitching wise is going to be just absolutely
even
dirty
if Bauer
in the postseason.
Doesn't come back, it's still your top 3 is still incredible.
Well, yeah, your top 3 is Scherzer, Kershaw. I don't think Kershaw's out for the year.
No, he's coming back. He's been throwing. I think he was going to do a minor league game or 2 coming up in a week.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But
and then Walker Buehler.
Yeah, who's been great.
Yeah, he's
kind of a surprise.
He's been unreal this year so far. So
yeah.
That's
and if they get Bauer back, then they have last year's Cy Young winner to add to that mix.
just to throw on top of that,
right? As if it wasn't enough, but
that's insane.
Disgusting. Because the most starting pitchers you'll ever have is 4 in a playoff series.
I mean, if you've got 5 that are all stars, you have 5.
Yeah, but would you rather run out a 5th starter, or would you rather run out Max Scherzer?
I mean, I guess it depends on the situation.
I'm usually in a playoff series, if you're going to a 5th starter, you're in game 5 minimum. So you're talking, you probably had 7 days off since his last start. If you go with 4 pitchers, well-rested Max Scherzer, I would take, or Kershaw or Bauer over anybody else in the league, basically.
Yeah, that's true.
It's scary. Like, I don't know how you win against that team in the playoffs against that.
I honestly, I don't know if like pitching wise, you have to have a team that can absolutely hit the shit out of the ball at that point.
You just have to hope you get lucky and get their one bad game of the year.
Yeah. To be clear, 3 of their 5 potential starters right now, without Scherzer, are a sub 2.6 ERA.
Yeah. And then they added Scherzer, who's definitely in that, I believe.
Yeah, because they have a guy, Tony
no,
Gonsolin.
Scherzer is actually not as good as them. He has a 2.8 ERA. So he will be the worst of those starters.
Like, that to me is nuts. Yeah, Walker Buehler is at a 2.19 ERA. Like,
jeez.
That's insane.
It's disgusting. I mean, everyone always says you win with pitching, and like they loaded up on it.
Walker Buehler is 11-1.
Jeez.
That's what I'm saying.
To be fair, when it comes to win laws, when you have the Dodgers lineup hitting behind you, like you don't even have. I mean, he's pitching great. Don't get me wrong, but like you could give up 6 runs and still probably win the game.
All about run support, baby. Yeah. All about run support. I'm gonna hit the bathroom real quick. If you want to go ahead and move on to the next one.
Yeah. So this one, I believe, happened before we got off last week. And that is Kyle Schwarber went to the Boston or no, that did not happen. That was a recent one. The Red Sox get Kyle Schwarber from Washington again. Again, Washington got rid of everybody. Schwarber's got 25 homers, 53 RBIs, like solid backup. Sorry, not a solid backup, a solid pickup. And he's been really hot. He went on the IL not long ago, but I think he's going to be coming off fairly quick. Tampa is another really weird one to me. I'll talk about it more with Fire when he gets back. So Tampa Bay made a trade with Cleveland to get Jordan Luplow, who's an outfielder batting 173. He's not that good. Like, he's really not. And DJ Johnson, who's had number 2 team in that division. They have like the 4th or 5th best record in all of baseball. And they traded away several players. They got rid of. I'm not going to be able to find it now. Seattle? Yeah, they got rid of Diego Castillo to Seattle. Talking about Tampa.
Okay.
They are up there with one of the weirdest trade deadlines.
You think so?
They're the 2nd place team in that division by like a game or 2. They're a game and a half behind Boston.
Okay.
They have like the 4th best record in all of baseball. They traded away pitcher last week, who I didn't add to this list, to the Yankees.
I forget. I'll look it up real quick.
Okay. And then they traded away Diego Castillo to the Mariners, who was the pitcher we talked about, who has like a 2.83 ERA. He's under control for like 5 years.
Okay.
And then they got Jordan Luplow from Cleveland, who's batting 173. And they got DJ Johnson from Cleveland, who I had to look up because I've never even heard of. He's had 1 career appearance. Like, what are you guys doing? Why are you getting rid of good players and bringing in guys who are completely irrelevant in baseball? Like, I don't understand. And like the Castillo guy that they got rid of is under control for like 5 years. Like, it's not like it's somebody who has like an expiring contract you were looking to unload to try to get a prospect or two. Like, he was a young guy who's pitching really well. Like, Theirs makes no sense to me. Let me see.
Trying to find it.
Yeah.
Sox, Braves.
Yeah, so they got the two guys from the Indians. They got a reliever from Baltimore. Oh, they got Nelson Cruz from the Twins.
Oh, that's right. I totally
take that back a little because that was a really big pickup.
Yeah, I was gonna say totally forgot about Nelson Cruz. Just like the rest of baseball.
But yeah, I mean, Nelson Cruz is really damn good.
Yeah, I mean he's still performing well.
Yeah. So Jordan Luplow was batting 173 before he went on the IL 2 months ago.
That is kind of weird.
With a sprained ankle, by the way. He's been on the IL for 2 months with a sprained ankle. Okay.
High ankle sprain?
Nope. Oh, well, maybe. I don't know. It just says sprained ankle. It doesn't say.
I mean, if it's a high ankle sprain, that makes a little more sense.
Yeah. And I can't find who they traded. Also, let's throw this out there that I just sort of realized because it popped up. Trevor Story didn't get traded.
No.
In all this craziness.
Nah. To be honest, that's not super.
The Rockies were like, no, we're not going to get rid of our players. We're going to let them walk at the end of the year and get nothing back.
To be honest, it's not super surprising.
I mean, kind of. He was like the number one guy being talked about besides like Scherzer. And and the Cubs, because the Cubs were a dumpster fire.
Is he an unrestricted free agent this year though? Because he's only been in
Trevor
the league.
Story?
Yeah, he's only been in the league 6 years.
I am looking it up right now.
I don't think he's an unrestricted free agent.
He is.
Is he?
Yep. In 2022, he will be an unrestricted free agent.
I thought it was 7 years before they could hit unrestricted.
I don't know. I'm looking at it right now. He will be 29 next year and a unrestricted free agent.
I mean, to be honest, when you look at his numbers,
I mean, they're not great, but they're not bad.
They all, like, if you look at the advanced metrics, like, they all are slowly going down, which is kind of funny.
But anyway, we can talk about.
But yeah, that is kind of weird. I mean, that doesn't surprise me a ton, but.
But yeah, so at Tampa, I guess the Nelson Cruz thing I forgot about because it happened like a week and a half ago. But so I guess they get a pass. But they still got rid of some guys that were good that I would not have gotten rid of.
The Yankees is still the weirdest to me.
Yeah, I agree. But anyway, all right. So time for your Giants.
I'm just going to preface what I'm about to say with I'm disappointed. You have the Dodgers making a huge trade, which I know they were partially in on, but to be honest, I don't know if I wanted them paying for Max Scherzer.
I wouldn't have given up what the Dodgers gave up for those two guys.
I wouldn't have wanted the Giants to either. So the Giants did get Chris Bryant from the Cubs, who last week I was talking about I really wanted them to get. And I figured he was a perfect fit for the Giants, and it seems like the front office thought so too. So they did trade for Chris Bryant. It was literally like one of the last deals made before the deadline.
Was. I think the only one after is the one we'll get to next.
But they traded Alexander Canario and Caleb Killian, who was the number 9 and number 30 prospect for the Giants, respectively. So they gave up a top 10 prospect, and they gave up their 30th prospect. To be completely honest, as a Giants fan, don't even know who these people are.
Yeah, I mean, once you get that far down the number, like most fans who are even like diehard know maybe your top 10 prospects.
Well, even Canario, who is an outfielder, top 10 prospect, he's number 9. He wasn't making enough waves, at least that
I mean, where was he to? Like, I feel like you only really hear about guys when they're like AAA about to like have a chance to make it.
I don't know for sure where, like, what level they were at.
What was his name?
Alexander Canario.
He was San Jose, whatever that is.
Okay, so that's low A.
It looks like that's high A.
Is it high A? I didn't think so.
Your low A is Salem.
Okay. Because our AAA should be
Salem
Sacramento.
Kaiser. Okay. So, I mean, he's 21 in low A, which is not, 21 in low A is not bad.
No.
But, yeah, so he's a really young prospect.
So,
especially with the minor leagues being canceled last year, like guys being maybe a little lower than you expect them to be is not super surprising.
My only problem with what the Giants did, I like this pickup. I said last week I wanted him. They got him. Hey, I'm a happy camper. I just think they needed to do more. Like you're literally the best team in baseball, and I know part of that is, well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
But they're not the number one team in baseball with like people you can rely on. People that you know are going to be you can count on day in, day out.
Yeah, I get that. And I think Chris Bryant definitely helps with that. But I have seen teams like the Giants that are overachieving make moves at the deadline and totally ruin everything that they're doing.
Okay, so I didn't need the Giants to do a ton. Like I've said for the last week, I would have loved to have seen them gone after Kimbrell too. If they had got Kimbrell and Bryant, I would have been a super happy camper. Because right now,
interesting that they didn't get anyone else, like even a relief guy or something.
Well, I think they did get like a relief pitcher or two. That were just like lower names. They weren't as prominent a name. Let me come down here because I'm pretty sure they got at least one other relief pitcher. Left-handed pitcher Tony Watson from the Angels.
Okay. I think he used to be on the Indians too.
He's 36-year-old.
Yeah.
3.20 ERA, 153 appearances across 3 seasons.
He did not used to be on Cleveland. Actually, Tony Watson pitched for the Giants 3 out of the last 4 years.
Yeah.
He had 72 appearances, 60 appearances.
Yeah,
21 appearances last year.
They gave up a bunch of what looks like minor leaguers for him. This year he hasn't been having the greatest year. 4.64 ERA, 36 games with the Angels.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's not the worst, but yes, they could have done maybe a little bit more.
So I wanted them to get either a starting pitcher, and I don't mean Scherzer. I mean like another one of the top flight.
A guy that after Scherzer was kind of linked to the Dodgers and Padres, I heard Kyle Gibson a lot with the Giants, and then he ended up going to Philly, which we'll talk about in a minute. But
Gibson was another one, and then Berrios was the other one.
Okay.
Before he went to where did we say he went to? Toronto.
Yeah.
Those were the 2 guys that I was okay with them going after if they wanted to go starting pitching, but I really wanted them to just make a big deal with Chicago, kind of like what the Dodgers did with Washington, and just get both. Because right now they split their closing duties. We got Tyler Rogers.
Closer by committee.
Well, it's Tyler Rogers and I think his first name's Jake, but it's McGee. And depending on who's up, because they're righty-lefty.
Okay.
So depending on the matchups will basically kind of dictate who closes. And I am more of a fan of just having a legitimate closer. That comes from our World Series runs. We had a guy that's what he did was close.
Yeah.
And
that's what most teams have. But
I like that. I was hoping they would go and get that. That way you could use those guys maybe a little more creatively in the setup for your closer.
Yeah.
But alas, that's all they did with some slightly lower names. But that being said, it's a great ad.
Chris Bryant's a really good pickup, but is it enough to stay ahead of the Dodgers and Padres? And to be fair, they shouldn't. Looking at rosters, they shouldn't be ahead of either of those teams anyway.
No.
So and it would be very difficult for them to not make the playoffs at all.
At this point,
they have a 9-game lead over the wild card if they were to fall to the second wild card.
As much as I hate to say it at this point, I think I'm paying for tickets for playoff baseball. I jinxed myself from the beginning of the season.
Fair.
But yeah, so I'm a little bummed that they didn't do a little more, but Chris Bryant's a great pickup. Can't be mad at that.
And like you said last week, he can play pretty much anywhere on the field.
I think they're planning on putting him at third until Evan Longoria comes back.
Third's his natural position. And then that's where he started.
And then I think they'll move him from there, but I think Evan Longoria got postponed coming back, so I think it's going to be a little bit. So I think that's where he's going to start for
That's another thing really quick. Actually, it works out perfectly. So are you good?
Yeah, we can move on. Sorry. I always talk a ton about the Giants.
No. Fine. I just wanted to be sure you were done. So moving on to the Mets, there was a little bit of news on the Mets before we get to their trades. Jacob deGrom had a big setback.
Ooh. I saw that, but I didn't see what it was.
He's not allowed to throw the baseball for another 2 weeks. Not allowed to pick up a baseball and throw it for at least 2 more weeks. So, we're talking a month and a half before he's even doing rehab starts.
He's probably not coming back till playoffs at the earliest.
Yeah. So, big loss because, we talked about it, honestly, last week or 2 weeks ago.
A couple weeks ago, I think.
We were like, unless he's done for the year, he's the Cy Young winner. And now it's I don't know if he's going to pitch enough games to qualify for the Cy Young.
That's what I was just about to say. Do you think this kills his Cy Young chances? Because he was for sure the Cy Young before that.
Yeah. Oh, no question. I honestly do. I don't think he'll win the Cy Young now.
That's tough.
It sucks because he was the for sure
Cy
Young winner.
He was breaking records.
Yeah, every week. But
that's nuts. Yeah, I saw that there was a setback, but I didn't actually get a chance to read the article before.
He was just starting to be able to throw, and then he had some really bad inflammation in his shoulder, and they shut it down for 2 more weeks. So we'll see. But yeah, so getting to the trades the Mets did make, possibly one of them in light of that. Honestly, both of them in light of injuries. So they picked up Javi Baez from the Cubs because everybody's from the Cubs or the Nationals. And shortstop, 248, 22 homers, 65 RBIs. He's having a good year in today's standards.
That's sad.
I know. But
again, he's a middle infielder.
Yes.
So.
Right. So Lindor is supposed to be out another 2 to 3 weeks. Once he comes back, they'll have Javi Baez at second and Lindor at short, which is an absolutely disgusting defensive combo up the middle. If you hit the ball up the middle, nothing's getting through, basically.
100%.
And then they also picked up Trevor Williams in that deal with Chicago. Starting pitcher, 5.06 ERA, 153 WHIP, a fifth starter at best on a contender.
Well, yeah.
So yeah, again, I think they were just looking for a little starting pitching depth with the DeGrom news. And
Well, and if I'm not mistaken, what's his name? Is still going to be out for a while.
who's that?
Syndergaard.
Oh, I don't. I expect Syndergaard to always be out. I mean, to be fair, I kind of expect that from DeGrom too, but both of those guys could have been some of the greatest pitchers in the history of baseball, and just neither of them have been healthy enough to ever be considered that.
Yeah, how much would that suck?
Like, legitimately, when Noah Syndergaard came up, like, he was one of the greatest pitchers in baseball for like a year, 2 years, and then he just has missed like 80% of the season every year since that.
It feels that way. It definitely feels that way.
But yeah, so good pickups for the Mets to kind of plug some holes and then add some depth. But yeah, go ahead.
All right, so on to Philly. Philly got starting pitcher Kyle Gibson, who was the guy we just were talking about a little bit ago that the Giants were linked to. I would have been happy with them getting him from Texas. 2.87 ERA, 1.17 WHIP. Solid starting pitcher. Like you can't he'd be a good middle rotation guy.
I mean, honestly, yeah, he's
high
good.
Rotation guy.
Good, yeah,
depending
two, maybe even one. Honestly, 287 is pretty good.
It depends on your rotation.
Yeah,
but yeah, definitely middle to top of your rotation kind of guy.
Yeah.
They got Ian Kennedy from Texas as well. Closer, 2.51 ERA. That's kind of high for a closer, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, he's had success. 16 of 17 saves this year.
I feel like that's one of those, like, that one blown save, he probably gave up like 4 runs, and that, like, your whole ERA is screwed because you only pitch in like 20 games.
I guess that's true. That's a pretty fair.
Like, if you have one bad game as a reliever halfway through the year, like, your ERA is fucked.
That's actually a pretty true statement. You don't really think about that much with,
because, like, even
closers.
for a full season, you maybe throw 80, 90 innings. Like, if you give up, 2 or 3 bad games, like, your ERA is going to be 3 or 4.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty good. Pretty true.
So.
Philly also got Freddie Galvez from Baltimore, shortstop, hitting 249, 9 home runs, 26 RBIs. It seems kind of standard for a middle infielder.
Freddie Galvez he was like their shortstop for a long time. And then they traded him to somebody, and then he ended up in Baltimore. But yeah, he's a solid middle infielder. He's really good defensively.
I just gotta say, this is completely off topic, but I saw highlights from the Phillies game this morning before I went to work, and I saw Andrew McCutchen.
Yeah,
I just love watching that man play baseball.
Andrew McCutchen was one of my favorite players.
He
still is, but
he played for the Giants for like a year and a half. That man is awesome, and it's just great to see him still doing his thing. I think he hit a walk-off like double or something.
Yeah, watching him play in Pittsburgh was like when he was at his peak of his career. Like, that dude was one of the best players in all of baseball.
Oh yeah. When the Giants got him, even though it was much later in his career, it was still great. I love guys that play for the love of the game. And just a side note, it just was great to see him since we were talking about Philly.
Yeah.
All right, now we'll go. I think this is our last team, right? It looks like it.
Yes.
At least last big notable thing.
This is the one that I missed that I added at the very end.
Oh, okay. St. Louis got starting pitcher John Lester and J.A. Happ, who are 2 guys that I didn't even know were still fucking playing the game.
Same.
Neither one of them are having a good year.
37, 16 years in baseball.
Yeah.
J.A. Happ, 38, 15 years in baseball.
So John Lester's got a 5.02 ERA, 1.59 WHIP, not having a great year. But J.A. Happ is having an even worse year at 6.77 ERA. I guess his whip is .01 better, but like
it's not good. I don't understand either of those pickups. Unless, I mean, okay, I don't know a lot about the Cardinals. Maybe they had like some starting pitching go down and they were just desperate for anybody, but I don't know. It's weird.
So, I'm trying to think. I'm trying to look at see like what the details were for that trade to see if maybe they got something out of it. Yeah, John Lester is 3-5 with a 5.02 ERA over 16 starts this year. Like,
okay, so looking at their depth chart, they have 3 starting pitchers on the 60-day IL. So it looks like they're just plugging holes.
Yeah, that's just literal. Like, they don't care who they are. They're just needed people.
Yeah. Also, on their starting, speaking of old guys, on their starting rotation, they have Adam Wainwright, who is 40 this year. He turns 40 in like a month and a half.
So they would have the oldest rotation in baseball, right?
It's gotta be.
That's gotta be the oldest rotation in baseball.
They also have somebody I don't know, Wade LeBlanc, who is 37.
Yeah, that's definitely.
So like 2 37-year-olds, a 38-year-old, and a 40-year-old are 4 of your 5 starters. The only other guy is a Korean guy, it looks like, Hwang Yun Kim, who is 31. Nope, I'm sorry, 33.
He's not even young either.
No.
I mean, he's not old, but he's just not young.
He's the young guy on the rotation.
That's crazy.
They do have one younger player who I'm assuming is going to be optioned. He's their 5th starter. He was born in 96, so that would make him 27? No, 25.
25.
Yeah, but
don't make me do math. I've been drinking.
He's actually 24. He won't be 25 till the end of the year. But,
okay.
But yeah, so I mean, yeah, definitely did not get younger with that trade. It's a weird that one's so strange to me. Like, you don't have anybody else,
like no prospects that are worth pulling up or anything,
right, just to get a look at. Like, I don't think the Cardinals are really in it, so get a look at some guys.
I don't know. That's crazy.
Cardinals 9.5 out, 7.5 out of the wild card, so like not really in it. I don't know.
All right, let's go on to who our best trade deadline. Who do you think did the best? I know we have some stuff on here, but I want just your opinion. Who?
I honestly think it's the A's.
The A's.
Well, I mean, we can agree
because we're going to totally agree on this one.
You don't want. You just don't want to pick the Dodgers.
I refuse to pick the Dodgers because I don't think that was the best trade. I think that was actually.
I mean, when you look at the best trade, but that's not what the thing says. It's who got better. Who did the most to get better this year?
I would still say it would be the A's. Even like objectively, I think the A's are better with the guys they got than the Dodgers are better than with the 2 guys or 3 guys they got.
Yeah, I agree with that. I still think the Dodgers are a better team.
Well, yeah.
But as far as the additions, I agree. I think Oakland got better with their additions than the Dodgers did with their additions.
Yeah, I'm kind of stoked for the A's. I hope it pays off for them.
I mean, they got like Josh Harrison is really good, but he was like one of the top players in baseball when he was with Pittsburgh. And then Yan Gomes is a really good catcher. Starling Marte's really good in the outfield.
Yeah, I was gonna say we talked about how good he was.
Chafin is a really good relief. Like they loaded, they didn't miss. Now, how much did they give up for those guys? I don't know.
Honestly,
really
compared to what the Dodgers gave up, I feel like they got more guys that were top flight than the Dodgers did for less money.
I mean, compared to what the Dodgers gave up, everybody's deal looks good. But
I mean, yeah, like when you say they gave up 6 of their top 30 guys, yeah, I don't think any team was even close to that as far as what they gave
the
up.
Yankees were 6 of the top 30.
Oh,
wasn't
okay,
it?
yeah, the Yankees were another one.
The
But
Dodgers were like 4 of the top 30.
if I haven't said it yet this week, fuck the Yankees.
Yeah, of course.
Because it's got to
goes
sneak in
without
at least
saying.
1 point every episode. Fuck
Fair
the
enough.
Yankees.
Fair enough.
But I would agree with you. I think the A's I think they knocked it out of the park. I hope it benefits them.
Yeah. Now, here's the big one. Which team got worse? The Cubs or the Nationals?
The Cubs, for sure, because they got rid of everybody. Literally everybody.
I guess.
I mean, the Nationals still have Juan Solo.
But what's he gonna do?
I'm just
A home
saying,
run every at bat. There's not gonna be anybody on base.
but I'm just saying, when you look at the two teams, if you're comparing who's in a worse spot, a team with at least one superstar, well, maybe not superstar, but all-star, is better than not.
Yeah.
Because the Cubs literally did. They gave up everybody.
Oh yeah. It's funny because like the big story going into the trade deadline was the Cubs are gonna have a fire sale. And they did. But when the news was like before the trade deadline, everyone was talking about it and they were like, yeah, they'll probably give up Bryant and Kimbrell, Peterson, maybe Baez, maybe Kimbrell.
See, I thought Baez
then
was
they
going
got
to
rid of-
stay, but Rizzo was going to
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. Well, everybody.
Yeah.
Rizzo, Peterson, Chafin, Baez, Kimbrell, Bryant, Trevor Williams, Tepera, who we didn't know, but his ERA and WHIP look really good. Also, he's on there twice.
Yeah.
And I think there's more players that got traded late that I didn't even add to that list.
I'm sure there is, but I would say the Cubs by far. I think the Nationals gave up everybody too, but they still kept their like young all-star.
I'll say, well, okay, yeah, but the Cubs didn't have a young all-star to keep.
I know, because Chris Bryant's not young anymore, and they got traded
Right.
to the.
But like, I'll say this, just as a counterpoint. You look at that list, and there's some really good players. Baez and Kimbrell and Bryant are all really good. But they're not Max Scherzer and Trey Turner.
5 of those guys, I would bet, are top 20 to 30 guys that got traded, period.
Wait, what do you mean?
Like if you look at Rizzo, Peterson, Baez, Kimbrell, and Bryant, those 5 guys, I bet you if you made a list of the eligible guys that, or not necessarily eligible, but the guys that got traded, I bet you those 5 would be in the top 30 to 40.
Oh, 30 to 40 is that's almost everyone that got traded.
No, that's not almost everyone that got traded.
I mean, if you look at this list, there's only like 25 players on it.
On the list you made, on the list we made
Right.
for the podcast, but I'm talking like overall, I would say they were probably even less than that.
Yeah.
I think that
I'm just saying, like, Max Scherzer and Trey Turner are better than anybody on the Cubs list. And
I don't know, because I'd put Kimbrell up there.
You would put.
I mean, he doesn't feel a starting role, but I would say he's just as valuable.
I mean, you're not wrong. Kimbrell's really good. I would put him behind those two. Then probably Kimbrell would be third on that list. And then I'd have to.
Yeah, like Peterson, Bryant, the other guys, I don't think they're necessarily top flight guys. I don't think they're 1 through 5 or 1 through 10 guys. But I think they're pretty close up there for what they offer.
We're back. We're good.
What is going on?
I don't know.
I have things literally like resizing on my screen.
That's always good.
Maybe I need to do a clean out on my PC. But no, if we're talking who did the worst, I think it's by far the Cubs.
Yeah, Now, I put who got or who did the worst, but like that's not really fair to say because like they were going to trade everyone and they probably got a ton of really good prospects back. So like saying they did bad isn't really like necessarily true. They probably had a really good trade deadline in their eyes.
Oh, okay. So truth is subjective though. Like, did they get better or did they get worse?
Wait, what?
Like technically though, did they get worse or did they get better?
Well, as a team, they got worse for now, but as a trade deadline, they didn't do worse necessarily.
Because I honestly don't know every single person they got, but I know at least from the Giants, I don't think they got anybody that's going to be a predominant starter.
Yeah.
Down the road. I could be wrong.
Just for one of those like 9 players.
But that's what I mean. You're giving up all your guys for the potential of maybe 3 of all the guys you got you traded for to actually hit.
Yeah, but if they weren't gonna get any of those guys back next year anyway, then like you might as well get as much as you can for them now. I mean, the Cubs aren't a contender.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you at all on that one. I mean, get what you can, but I'm just saying. It's a lot.
It's the same with the Nationals too. Like, and the Nationals, I would say, did have a better trade deadline because of the Trey Turner Max Scherzer deal. Like they made out on that.
That was, I think, a highway robbery.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's hard to tell. Like if the Dodgers win a World Series because of Max Scherzer, is it a robbery to win a World Series?
Trey Turner is going to have a home run in the postseason this year.
Yeah, right, exactly, something like that. Like,
I don't know. It is really tough.
It's hard to judge selling teams at the trade deadline because you're not going to know if they had a good trade deadline for like 2 years.
And by then, honestly, most people forgot you even traded, like who you traded for those guys. In a lot of cases.
100%. I mean, because like, so the Indians, even on years were really good, a lot of times will sell off really good players to kind of stay relevant in the future with getting prospects. Like I think there was one year we went to the ALDS or no, the ALCS, but in that year we traded away like CC Sabathia because he wasn't going to come back next year. So like, why would you not?
Just pay the man.
He can't.
Just make money.
Because whatever you pay him, the Yankees will offer $40 million more. That's just a fact.
Okay.
But
no, I don't think you're necessarily wrong in that. Like, you don't really know who did bad until at least, at the very least, a year or two out.
Yeah. Yeah. The point of what I was saying was agreeing with you was like, we traded away CC Sabathia, and then like 2 years later, guys were coming up that we got in that trade, and they were like significant starters on our team. And it's like, oh yeah, we got him.
Yeah,
like,
but were they CC Sabathia?
No, but we weren't gonna have CC Sabathia. So no, I think one of those guys was Michael Brantley, who like is one of the best hitters in baseball history. The guy's like averaging over like 15 years, he's averaging like a 308 batting average or something. But
all right.
But no,
So, teams that didn't make sense. We talked about the Yankees. I think we pretty much hit all these when we talked about the trades they made.
We did.
The Yankees, the Mariners, and the Braves. The Yankees...
Tampa Bay in there, too.
Yeah. The Yankees still, to me, I think, is the most puzzling.
Yeah. The Braves is weird, but, like, I get it. Like, it doesn't completely not make sense to me. The Yankees make no sense.
The Yankees to me is literally the one where I was watching the MLB channel and Quick Pitch last night and literally just like, why?
Because they're the Yankees and they can.
Why?
Basically.
What is like, how does that actually like genuinely help you?
It doesn't. Honestly, I would very much argue that it makes them worse in the long run.
Well, yeah, in the long run for sure, but even in the short run, I'm like those guys, like, yeah, they're good players, but
they're not great, and they're not enough to bring you back from a 9-game deficit.
Like, I was so lost last night. My wife looked at me and she's like, "Well," I'm just like, I don't even know what to say. Like, it just literally makes no sense. I couldn't wait to get on here to say how much I think that makes no fucking sense.
Yeah. It's so strange.
And I was thinking all of that before they traded for Rizzo.
Right. Yeah, that was just the Joey Gallo trade. Yeah.
I was thinking.
That was a really weird one.
I don't know. Maybe these things will all plan out. Again, our last episode of this year, when like it's like World Series time and that like downtime, is going to be fun because I'm going to go back and look at all of these. This one, the mid-season reviews, the intro, like to see how dumb or not dumb we actually were. Like if like watch Joey Gallo hits for like 40 home runs in the second half of the year. Right.
Like, the Yankees come all the way back and take first place from that division. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. But anything you want to throw on here, anything you can think of that we would want to add for the trade deadline stuff. I know we didn't hit every single trade, but I don't think it would be possible for us to hit every trade.
We hit all the ones that were big. There's always going to be teams who are like adding a random relief pitcher here and there who is like okay, but yeah, we wanted to get definitely the big names and the teams that were like either weird or the top, contenders, stuff like that. So yeah.
All right. I'm going to end us here. Thanks everybody. If you're watching, listening, we do this live every week, twitch.tv/Bases and Brews. No spaces. Come and check us out. We usually interact with chat. If you are enjoying us and you want to catch some old episodes, we're on YouTube. Go ahead and Go ahead and search up Bases and Brews, and you'll be able to find all of our old podcasts. We've got up to 20 episodes now, so a little over a few months, just at least. So you can go back and check. We are also on pretty much every podcast except for Apple Podcasts. Just search up Bases and Brews. We'll be there. Go ahead and check us out if you want just more of a listening vibe. Other than that, like I said, we do this every Friday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, if you want to come by and check it out live. If not, they get uploaded during the weekend, so they're ready to go for you by Monday morning.
And if you watch live, you get a post show.
Oh, yes. I forgot we were going to add that in. Don't forget.
I forgot to.
Yeah, every time we record it, we do about a 10-15 minute post show where we kind of just brainstorm about the next episode and talk about kind of extrapolate a little bit on some of the things we didn't get into during the podcast. But come and check us out. We love you guys. Have a great week, and we will see you next week with we are doing our top 5 overrated and underrated players next week, right?
Yep.
That's going to be a fun one.
It's going to be fun.
Come around, guys. That's going to be fun. It's going to be active players. I think that's what we agreed on, right?
Correct.
Top 5 active and top 5 overrated and underrated active players. It's going to be a ton of fun. But everybody have a great night. We will see you all next week.
Later.